listen, I don't want to get. Do we want to talk about the officials?
I think we have to, right? I was gonna.
Okay, go for it.
I was gonna segue this a little.
Thank you. I didn't want to talk about it either, but I guess we have to.
We don't have to talk about it as if we are happy with it or we think there was any real swing on the game. But I do think just controversy was part of this game in multiple spots, right? Whether you want to say you like it or you don't, or you agree with it or you don't, it's hard to actually discuss this game playing out the way it did without two really, really big moments to me. One was the deep ball where Roman Wilson catches the ball.
Sure.
He appears to have a touchdown. It is ruled a touchdown on the field upon review. It is overturned. He's down at the 1 yard line. Now, from there, it's 1st and goal from inside the 1 for the number 1 offensive line in college football. They fumble, handing to a backup running back who was a linebacker to start this season.
And the interception was spotted 2 yards further back than where he actually ended up. And then, So listen, man, if you're that heavily favored and you're that type of team in Michigan and you have to resort to the referees as the reason why you may or may not have lost this game as a fan, there needs to be some reevaluation.
Right.
The hard thing is as fans, as players, those guys have the most impossible job in sports to me because they're never going to be right. They're going to piss somebody off. And they try really hard. So I try to not criticize refs. They try to get it right. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But at the end of the day, we have to live with it, and we have to live with the people that we have, right? And to your point, Greg, like, yes, that sucks that wasn't ruled a touchdown because it pretty much clearly was a touchdown. But you still should be able to overcome that. And I understand that it was unfortunate that it played out that way and they ended up fumbling into the end zone, and then you get a touchback out of that. So you, even if you did fumble it on the 1 yard line, you now spotted them 20 extra yards, 25 extra yards. So there's just a lot that goes into it. But to me, like, they tried their best. I think the bigger thing to come out of this, and it's funny because it was a key point in both these games, was like targeting and how we're going to go about evaluating targeting, right? Because at the end of the day, if you look at the rule book and you study what's said, is this really a rule book call, or is this kind of like a whoever, a judgment call by whoever's looking at it, right? But obviously led with the crown of the helmet, did make contact to the back of the head. Not going to say that it makes a big impact. It gives them a chance to have another Hail Mary or something like that at the end of the game. But, those are the types of things that I think.
How do you feel about that? Like, can do. How do you like? I personally, and I guess just because I grew up in defense.
Yeah, it's impossible for you.
I don't want that guy to get thrown out for that.
No, I don't want guys to get kicked out for targeting. Period. Like,
okay,
it's such a. To me, it's the people making the rules obviously have never been in that position,
right?
Of like having to make
a
physical body change while playing 1,000 miles an hour and giving everything you have to make a play. Like, the best athletes in the world, it's hard for them to do it. So,
let me ask you this though: Do you think that the way that was ruled, right? Because obviously the game's over. The game is over. There wasn't a flag thrown on the field. Is correct. But at that point, prior to the review, the game was over. There was no flag thrown. Then they say, okay, we're going to review this. We're going to look and see if this is targeting. Do you think that the ultimate decision where they ruled that there was no targeting, do you think that was ruled because they truly did not classify that as targeting, or was that ruled because of the time and place in the game where they didn't want to make a decision in that spot that is due to that rule? Because just to my eye, that looked like textbook targeting. Like, if we're going to have targeting rule, right? I don't know.
I'm not going to say textbook targeting, but when you watched it and, like, again, you have the power of slow-mo, like, yes, that was the definition in the rule book. Yes. That was targeting. Led with the crown of the helmet.
Like if that review happens midway through the first quarter, we think that's targeting, right?
Maybe.
I don't know, dude. I thought he hit him in the back. And like that, like I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I think we've got a weird relationship with what the crown of the helmet actually is. Because if you're digging somebody out, and you know this hack, if you're digging somebody out with your face mask,
yeah,
the first thing that's going to hit their chin is your crown.
Yeah, your forehead. Yeah.
And I don't think people think about it in that way. And I think you and I are on the same page where, like, there's a huge, he didn't spear that guy. Spearing is different. Spearing should be called targeting. He didn't spear him. He was trying to dig him out.
Yep.
And I think that's the part where people look at the letter of the law, or they just read a rule and they don't understand that there's a huge difference, because if you're trying to dig somebody out, you got to get your head lower than their head. And your crown's going to be the first thing that makes contact, but that doesn't mean your face is up. If your body's completely like this, you're going to hurt yourself.
Yeah.
And that's the part that frustrates me. I will say this, and I'm gonna take us back to go forward, but I understand that the Wilson touchdown call, it should have been a touchdown. Who's the was it DeMarcado, or who was the TCU guy that also scored a touchdown that they called back? Was that Hudson? Both teams had 2 touchdowns called back.
Yeah.
And reset. One team fumbled into the end zone.
Yeah.
And the other team scored a touchdown. Yeah. So we don't get to complain about that. That's the only point that I wanted to make. But I agree with you guys with respect to targeting. Like, one team fumbled the ball completely away, gave it to the other team, and then one team scored a touchdown. That's all I'm saying.
We can talk about it. I'll implore Michigan fans and anybody in the state of Michigan out there, don't blame the refs on this one. Your team did not play a clean enough game to claim that officials took a game from you in this one.